Hola Madridistas, welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Real podcast. Big up the people tuning in later, big up people in the chat, big up our sponsors. LB at 20% off and free shipping on manscaped.com. Also, go check out Fanatics, official partners of La Liga and Real Madrid. Show some love to Talksport Fan Network as well, powered by the fans. Right then, housekeeping out of the way. Yeah, this was again one of those games, that had the trademark traits of all of the games that really cost us, major silverware this season. It's almost like the management and the players and yeah, anyone, including Carlo himself, thinks that the game is done at 3-0. I've learned it the hard way. Our team has learned it the hard way that once you get unlocked, once you tap out, once you mentally check out of a game that has 30 odd minutes on the clock, it's a dangerous proposition. This is top flight football, right? This isn't a kickabout with your mates, and football is so crazy that even a five-a-side with your mates can get pretty nervy if you just give up on the game at 3-0.
Yeah.
Especially with the stakes this high, a Clasico to play next week. Imagine a draw today at the Bernabeu. It would have been such a a shambolic end to Carlos' tenure. I'm still getting grips with getting to grip with how Carlo is gonna be. I think dealt with in the coming weeks, and again there is uh, another proof, a whole 90 minutes of why probably he shouldn't be the manager next season. Because whatever good that he instills into a side is completely wiped clean off once the game gets to a phase that the team isn't necessarily prepared to deal with. I'm pretty sure it's not just the management. A lot of it has to do with the personnel on the field as well. I'm telling you, Mbappe, Vinicius, Jude Bellingham. Yeah, so many of those guys, uh, especially this season. I mean, Jude Bellingham has tried more often than not, but yeah, Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo. Um, who else can I really blame? Um, yeah, majorly them. They haven't looked serious. They don't look like serious footballers to me. It might be surprising, but whenever I see them in difficult moments, yeah, I don't think they have the drive anymore. I don't think they do, Sahil.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that complacency stems from, well, a part of it is just switching off in games like these, where you think you've won it and you think that the other team is going to just give in and um, try and minimize damage. But more often than not, teams in La Liga these days, at least, and I'm sure they've learned it the hard way as well. They know that coming to the Bernabeu, they can go 2-0, 3-0 down and still have a chance in this game, because teams who play their football freely, teams who like to have possession of the ball, right? They have the technical ability to back that mentality up. And Celta are a very fine example of the same. So they came to the Bernabeu with a very bold approach. Didn't exactly work out for them in the first half because Real Madrid had, well, two screamers, which were pieces of individual effort, which got us into a 2-0 lead. And then just one exquisite breakthrough of a counter attack where ARDA GULER's um, through ball found Mbappe. So that was just after the halftime interval as well. And at that point, probably in the minds of Real Madrid fans, we would have thought, well, that was game over. But and it should have been, right? We should have seen the game out. The game management side of these players should have come through. Like up until that point, I know Ceballos looked in good touch. Mbappe was finishing off the chances he was being afforded. GULER was probably up until that point the man of the match. Uh, Bellingham and Vinicius again went missing, didn't really have the impact even when we were actually on our A game. So those are little things that you pick up from even well, a good 60 minutes of very good football that we played, and we got ourselves into a very good position, and then we fold, right? We give it away in an attempt to, well, again, see the game out. He, or I can only see it as a blunder. He takes off Raul Asensio and puts on Jacobo Ramon. And we've seen this before, right? Earlier in the season at the Bernabeu, Alaves, they came for a, well, it was a dead rubber match, and then it should have been a 3-0 win. And then who was it? Vallejo. He comes on, and suddenly we concede twice. So it's the lack of, again, you mentioned drive and mentality, but fighting spirit is also very important, and especially for Real Madrid players, even at 3-0 up in a game. So it's very questionable from some of these players how we let a lead that.
Jacobo
Yeah,
Ramon, you know,
yeah,
is very highly rated. Could be for any reasons. Maybe he plays in a familiar system. Maybe he is a bit nervous, you know, when the lights are the brightest, especially when, you know, you're at the Bernabeu with the Clásico looming and the league title race, you know, pretty much going down to the wire.
yeah.
Um, but you should really look at the season, you know, outfield players. Mbappe, you said he finishes chances. A serious player, right? A player who doesn't take his chances for granted, doesn't really think that, yeah, he can really go for the Hollywood shots in a game that is, you know, basically us trying to survive at 3-2. If you remember the chance towards the end, I'm not sure what minute it was, probably 80, 88, 87.
Yeah, on the volley
He's through on goal
from
on the
Handel.
volley. He's going for the spectacular. I mean, take a touch, slot it in. Simple as. I mean, Cristiano would do that. Even Cristiano would know. Um, Cristiano would have, like, despite his, you know, otherworldly abilities, he would have a better sense of the game. He would have a better, you know, read of the game. You shouldn't be, man. The amount of chances these guys squander week in, week out, it screams to me they aren't serious footballers.
No,
They just aren't. Like, I don't know how anyone can watch for guys like Mbappe, you know, and claim that, oh, he has been the sole shining light this season. Like Sid was mentioning the other day. Oh yeah, of course. Like, he scored like what, 30 odd goals. Not bad. Not bad a return, you know, especially in his first season with the kind of struggle that he went through in the first couple of months. But regardless, in moments that we need him, he has been slacking, man. In the Copa final, I mean, he did come in clutch. But then again, where was he? In extra time, where was he? You know, to win us the game, he wasn't there. So it's not entirely his fault, but I just can't look past some of the decision making that these, you know, 400 week, 500 week players
yeah.
that tends to put on a consistent basis. It's really bothering me.
No, no,
And you know,
there is a
all
sense of
these,
mediocrity
yeah, and
with
all these
Mbappe.
Xabi Alonso merchants.
Yeah,
All these Xabi Alonso merchants are in for a, you know, a huge rude awakening when he steps in, because I'm telling you, no system is going to be like Haaland, right? No manager is going to be as laid
excellent.
back as him. So when Xabi Alonso sees Mbappe not doing the stuff, you know, that he would expect of someone leading the line,
There are going to
uh,
be gifts.
there's going to be conversations, and I don't think Xabi Alonso will be up for challenging the board. So that's why I think that the trajectory that our club is going to go in for the next few years are doomed. I'm just being honest. We shouldn't have signed Mbappe. Yeah, we shouldn't have signed Mbappe, man. I was excited, you know, once he came. I wasn't a huge a fan of him due to his antics and whatnot, but when he finally came, I wasn't a big fan. He has the brilliance, but I don't think he has the mentality or the humility to play for a side like us.
Fair enough, and I get where you're coming from about Mbappe because there are certain players like Mbappe and like Jude Bellingham who have, for the better part of the season, given us good enough output at what they're best, but also have gone missing in really, really important games. Like the mediocrity has shown through. But there's bad and then there's worse, right? So I don't think Mbappe is in that worst conversation as yet because when we talk about adaptability and when we talk about not being up to standards, that we speak about a guy who's been forced to play in a position that's not his, right? The club knew what they were getting from him and what the package included, and they were ready to accept that this guy's flaws being not enough, to be a focal point for Real Madrid were going to show through eventually, and they did. But also, he's got the output, right? He's more often than not, he's come up with the numbers, and he's actually scored in all of our finals this season. So I don't think there is, I don't think you can question the clutch when it comes to Mbappe. He has, uh, and it will get better. Obviously, he will show up in more big games. So with Mbappe and with Jude, it's less of a conversation than it is with, say, Rodrigo and Vinicius, because those guys have fallen off big time from what their potential, promised us to be. Because these guys are in their first 2 seasons at the club, Jude and Mbappe, and they're still somewhat out, on the produce side, on the output side of things, they're still our best players, bar Valverde and Courtois, right? So what I'm looking at right now is Rodrigo and Vinicius especially. He's just shocking in moments of games. He doesn't go missing in the way that Rodrigo does, but he's just so terribly like inefficient at what he does, even at his so-called strengths and what he's supposed to be good at, right? He's supposed to be this player who cuts in from the left wing and bamboozles players with his pace and his trickery, mastery over the ball, and going one way or the other. And there's phases where I watch him do that, and he's not even good at that. Like 4 times out of 5, he loses the ball, and maybe once it comes off, and even then, his shot or his pass isn't on the money. So he disappoints me so much as a Real Madrid fan because last season we were close to seeing him win a Ballon d'Or, and we were expecting more from him. But now it's just stooped to new lows. And Rodrigo, we've had the conversation with Rodrigo multiple times this week already. He's been rumored to be on the verge of leaving. I don't know what you feel about that, but he wasn't in the squad today, so let's. I don't think there's a point mentioning him.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about Rodrigo. Yeah, he was out of the squad. He was having a
And just
cold or
about
something.
Jacobo as well. I know those Castilla
It's
enthusiasts.
Jacobo. It's Jacobo.
Jacobo, okay, yeah. So the people who watch a lot of our academy games will have their opinions on it. Will say that he has a higher ceiling than Raul Asensio. The same about Juan Martinez and whatnot, right? But as far as playing in the first team is concerned, Raul Asensio was on the money from the very first minute he set foot on the pitch, right? I don't care what potential he's shown before coming to the first team. I don't care how system oriented Raul's approach was that made this guy look so good, Jacobo.
Yeah.
Maybe he was the first choice before Raul Asensio. Maybe his injury would have, kept him from, not being second in choice. I don't care. When he's come through on the biggest of stage, he has his game awareness has been shocking. Right, Celta are good side, but Celta are not world beaters, right? Ancelotti knew what he was going for when he put them on there. This should have been made to look much easier than it was. Surely you maybe should have paired him with a more responsible, first choice central defender, not Tchouaméni, who just looks so out of place sometimes. Then again, his positioning was horrid from the corner, and then from the goal that Iago Aspas assisted, is he just didn't know where to look.
Yeah, he gets too tight to his man sometimes. Jacobo, I'll tell you something. If I'm not mistaken, I think the last time he played and had quite shaky game, I think it was again paired with Chouameni. Um, and at this point, the club I think is just to find trusting itself to find internal solutions, and Jacobo, because of his reputation, is getting some minutes. I hope he turns it around because it'll only benefit us in the future. Because if we eventually find someone like Nacho in our ranks who can
Yeah,
step in when we need him to,
yeah.
it's going to go a long way in us winning title after title. So um, yeah, I mean the second goal especially, it's an ingenious back heel from Iago Aspas. I'm not sure how much can you blame Jacobo on that, but I mean, like you said, Chouameni, up until then, he was having a brilliant game. Slow to track the run. Yeah, defense hasn't been really our
We
forte
just
this
switch off.
season.
Even from the set piece,
Yeah.
we just switch off. Suddenly we're
Mm,
cleaning up, and then we feel like, well, there's no impetus, there's no
mm,
incentive to win the rest of the game, right?
yeah.
You don't have to go for
So
four. Why don't you?
yeah, it's almost like we forget what pressing is. We forget what closing down means.
Yeah,
We forget basics. Um, it's almost like when I mean Carlo, he did admit at the press conference that Sensi was taken off because he couldn't continue. Um, but when we make some subs, it's almost like players think, yeah, the game is over. Let's just uh, yeah, let's just freestyle and hold tight and hope for the best. There isn't, like you said, much drive from so many of the key players to go and grab one further, which Jude Bellingham did try. Then again, a couple of his decisions towards the end, why he didn't quite put Winnie through on goal, we would never know. Yeah, Fede Valverde, um, good driving runs. I mean, Mbappe maybe could have done a bit better with making himself available. Yeah, so many of these players, they just run into brick walls, which they weren't necessarily last year. They had a certain swagger, a certain decisiveness to their play, but this year it's almost like, yeah, the confidence has definitely been oozed out of them. One kid who had plenty in confidence was Arda Güler. Um,
definitely.
we spoke about this. Springtime is his time, and I hope every season is his as well. Going forward, because the ease at with which he handled today's semi free roll. Sometimes he inverted, sometimes he dropped pretty deep to progress the ball. I think he has all the tools in the locker to excel and succeed at Madrid. Sahil, walk me through the first goal, man. I'm I'm pretty sure it was a well practiced routine from the training ground,
Yeah,
because we do see a lot of teams actually rely on it, especially if you have someone with a nice finesse shot edge of the box.
yeah,
Uh, the speed with which Arda Güler makes space for himself and wraps his foot around the ball and sends it far post. Pretty decent, man. For someone who has been on the on the wastelands for what 7 8 months throughout the
yeah,
season.
yeah. The short corner is something we've used um, ineffectively in the past, but also teams know how to make it work. But
Yeah,
particularly with this kid, when he is on a set piece, I have a lot more confidence in what he's going to do with it.
yeah,
Right? I don't, regardless of calling the ball in or is he taking a shot from a free kick, he has a lot of he has almost a sixth sense when it comes to free kicks and corner kicks of what to do and where to put the ball, right? Um, and this is clearly something that shows through as well, because when he took that short corner and when he actually cut in on his left foot, part of me thought that he was going to cross the ball in because he's
hmm
had so much success with crossing the ball to the head of, say, Tchouaméni or Rudiger in recent months, I did not expect him to take
Yeah.
that shot. The precision with which he curls the ball into the corner
Mm.
is otherworldly. And well, we saw great things from him in the rest of the game, but at the end of the day, the goal and the assist is what made the scoreline what it was. And I don't know if he got the MVP. I think it was Aspas. I'm not sure, but definitely one of the contenders. And with regards to his positioning and his confidence, those things have obviously improved as the season has gone on. We know he's not had the easiest of seasons. He's not seen enough game time. At least not as much as most fans would like to think he
Can you
deserves.
hear some knocking from outside?
Uh, from your place?
No, no, right.
No, 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 no. I can't.
Okay, okay, okay.
Um. So yeah, like I was saying, with Arda, he hasn't exactly enjoyed as many minutes as we would have liked.
Hmm.
But in the latter part of the season, especially in the Copa del Rey, and now as the La Liga season folds, he's seen more of the. He's been sort of on the fringes of the first team, I should say, and he's actually delivered like what 14 goal contributions in not even 1500 minutes in the first team,
Mm.
and that is actually very good returns for a player who hasn't started any games, any major games at all. He's up until the latter end of the season. So a lot of other players I know can use that continuity excuse, and I know there were loan rumors around Arda
Yeah,
as well midway through the season. But I'm pretty sure those will eventually evaporate into thin air as the summer approaches, because he is someone that looks to be reinvented in that position where he's almost playing as a right midfielder. He's not a right winger. He can never be a right winger in the way that Rodrigo plays.
yeah.
He is a right midfielder who can cut in, play in those little pockets of spaces, drop drop in sometimes, but also show up in between the lines and midfield, and that to a very very great extent takes the load off Jude Bellingham's shoulders, right? Because Jude Bellingham is
Hmm.
not the creative, um, mastermind that he's being asked to be sometimes in these games, because he is a
Hmm.
workhorse and he's very much up and down the pitch. And when it comes to the creative front, we almost instinctively throw the ball out to the wide players and ask them to create something out of nothing. And that
Yeah.
is where Arda Güler comes in. He offers you an option creatively in the middle of the park, right? Very different to what Brahim does, very different to what Rodrigo does. So it's just more and more options for Xabi Alonso or whichever coach is taking up the reins next season. And I'm just delighted for Arda.
Yeah, he seems to have a great understanding with Mbappe as well. Every time they link up, something always tends to happen. One thing I have to give Mbappe credit for is the fact that he can combine effortlessly with so many players, with Jude, Brahim, with GULER. He seems to know what to do. The one two, GULER should have buried it, but unfortunate. He shot straight at Guaita. But yeah, even the ball that he set up for Mbappe as well, pretty decent for the 3-0. Uh, the timing, the precision from deep. That's what you associate with guys like Modric, and that's why maybe probably many people think that his future is probably as a deep lying playmaker, because he doesn't necessarily have the pace for the right wing, or the physicality sometimes the position requires, but deep, if flanked by able, physically imposing midfielders, I think Arda Güler can go a long way in his career and prolong his career. Like I know he's only 20, but I do think his young age will only uh, pave way for even more opportunities come next season and the season after the next. Because I'm pretty sure Xabi Alonso is a huge fan of playing a 10 as well. So yeah, the uh, the options for Arda Güler is certainly opening up. Got to thank Carlo as well. you know, I think
Yeah.
the injuries kind of forced a decision, but Brahim would be the safe bet. But he's trusting Arda Güler, who's in fine nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said,
I just want to
happy for
mention
him. Mm.
Endrick is a case that I would have loved to see on a game like this as well. It's just
Yeah.
sad to see. I don't
Mm.
know what exactly has gone wrong there. Maybe there's a discipline issue. Maybe he isn't working as hard as Ancelotti would have liked him to on the pitch.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of raw talent and potential there, as with Arda, as with some of these guys, Fran, who are being given chances, and it's just unfortunate to see that Endrick is not being given chances in the same sense, because he is, I'm not going to say equally, inspiring or on the same level of potential or ceiling as Arda. But what he does in his position is quite unique, right? And we have seen him score in important games right at the depth, barely given any minutes. Um, and we also have seen him put up some real stinkers when it comes to the games, very few games that he has actually started. Um, but yeah, I would just like to see more of Endrick maybe next season if he isn't going out on loan or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
shame.
Yeah. I think Endrick, whenever he comes on, he tends to make a couple of bad decisions, and which are glaring ones. That seems to stick because I have a poor memory, and it's pretty well known. And I still do remember, the shot that he tried to make against Arsenal, edge
Yes,
of the box near the corner flag. I mean, yeah, I did watch for Endrick, tried to get some heat off of him by claiming that, he is a 17-year-old. I mean, not 17-year-old, but yeah, 18, 19-year-old. Um, but there's guys like Yamal who, is an anomaly, but still,
yeah.
the decision making. Then again, I don't think Endrick has had nearly quite the same experience that
Environment,
Yamal has had, who has over 100 plus senior
right?
appearances for Barcelona, Spain, all of that. So, um, yeah, I think coaches take that seriously because you're put in to do a job. If you can't keep the ball moving or recycle it well enough, um, and just completely lose your head and go for that, Hollywood shot that has a 1% probability. Mm, I don't think coaches take that lightly. Um, but yeah, let me get into a few of the comments. Pick up Ashik was mentioning we'll be back, baby. Watch out, Barcelona. Good luck getting a goal next week. Yeah, I don't know. Against Barcelona, we're gonna get goals for sure because literally anyone can score a goal against them. But it's all about how we defend. I don't think we are capable enough.
Yeah,
I think it'll be such a gut wrenching end to the season. I think for me the season is over. I think the season ended last Saturday, but uh, a Clasico is a Clasico, at least for the sake of pride. I hope the team turns up, but yeah, anything beyond that, you will be delusional expecting anything from this side.
yeah. No, definitely the the ball is definitely not in our court anymore, and that's very
Mm,
obvious to see if one just looks up at
mm,
the La Liga
yeah,
table. We're obviously out of all other races for silverware. Mbappe still is in the run for Pichichi, so that's something to fight for. Courtois as well,
fuck
given
the
today.
Pichichi, fuck his
No,
Pichichi.
it's
I
like
hope he doesn't get
small
it.
things that would just boost the players' morale, especially for someone like Thibaut Courtois as well, right? He's now in the race for Zamora, but we've
Mm,
conceded 2 goals and we've just not done him justice throughout this season.
mm,
He's pulled us out of
mm,
games that we had no right
yeah,
being in.
yeah.
But the defense is just not. It's just let him down
I
time
don't
and
care
time.
about individual honors at this point.
I
I
know,
mean,
and
if
there's
we if we
nothing
if, we,
left
if
to
we're getting
fight for
some
Sinet as
sizable,
far as team,
yeah, yeah. Let's not
title
talk
goes.
about a Zamora or Pichichi. Let's not let's
Sure.
not let's not drop our standards to Arsenal levels. If you know what I mean. But yeah, expecting anything substantial from this team next week is just delusional for me. Um, we can delay Barcelona's celebrations, if we at least draw. That's the best case scenario for me. But yeah, winning, nah, no chance. Maybe we might do the unthinkable with 1-2 like we did uh, in Zidane's first season. But even then, I still remember it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. So um, similar circumstances. I don't think we are good enough. And the team morale is at an all-time low. All-time low. You can just look at the faces of all our players. They just don't really wanna be at the game. I mean, who can blame them, right? Um, Ashik said the team should have been built around the little Turkish genius in the middle of the park. He controls the game when playing in field rather than playing him as a winger. Also saying Carlo took the whole season to realize that if he had just watched the Turkey matches, he would have known better. Like Asan, like Salam, he was mentioning poor passing from Winnie, absolutely horrible defending in the last 20 minutes. Brahim cannot finish easy goals. Akobo seemed nervous. Ashik was mentioning none of those goals were on Hakobo. I'm not sure why he should be accountable. The front foot don't bother running back anymore. They are somehow self-entitled now. We see that every week and brush it aside as it's the norm. You can leave one guy probably up top. You know, you could leave either one of Mbappe or we need to just be that option if a long ball opportunity arises. But the rest of them, at least for the sake of getting bodies back, you have to get back. Jude Bellingham, I understand he is just completely wasted at this point, running on empty, running on fumes. Yeah, I feel sorry for him. But the rest of them, Brahim, Mbappe, um, yeah, Vinicius.
No,
You know,
yeah,
you, you
Vinny
you
especially.
you don't need to get into a defensive third and act as you know pseudo CDMs. You just have to be there to kind of make it a bit compact. I don't understand. I don't understand the sort of indiscipline that our forwards get away with. But yeah, what were you saying, Sahil?
No, I wasn't saying anything actually.
Okay. Ashok was mentioning in the Copa game. In the Copa, the game wouldn't have gone to extra time if it wasn't for Mbappe, and still we find a way to blame him. And when he gets a pass, Rodrigo gets a pass. Where was Rodrigo the whole season?
Yep.
Mbappe,
Good point.
I did mention that he actually did pretty well in the cup final, but if he is regarded as the guy who is, basically being the shown shining light, right, the sole shining light, right? Like for me, has to do so much more. Vinicius doesn't get the same heat. Rodrigo doesn't get the same heat because they have done stuff for us. I'm pretty self-aware that we should be living in the present. But what Vinicius and Rodrigo did over the last 3-4 years, they have credit in the bank for me. What they did, whatever little Rodrigo did, it resulted in some major honors for us. Last year, the goal away against City, I mean, it was a meek shot, it was a rebound. Whatever you say, it did help us win the game. His goal against City at home as well. People tend to forget. I mean, this season Rodrigo has been pretty shocking. So has been Winnie. But the guy who's supposed to be the next, coming of Jesus Christ, when I see him in certain situations, his decision making isn't really that better. I don't think so. I don't think so. I'll be very honest. There might be an agenda for me. It might sound like, I don't know. I can't really tell myself at this point. But when I see Mbappe making some of the decisions he makes, nah, not good enough. Um, right. Hassan was mentioning, is there any financial problems going on at Madrid? The stadium cost a lot. So we are still trying to manage what happened during COVID. The stadium being built and signing players on exorbitant amounts. I think the last time we did it was to a many probably 2-3 years ago. But yeah, that necessarily isn't going to be the case anytime soon. But you never know. Um, right. Hassan was mentioning, yeah, not one game doesn't define Hakobo. Uh, Ashik was saying if your name is Vinicius Tchouaméni, Mbappe, Rodrigo Vasquez, then you get infinite amount of time to prove yourself. But if you are from the academy, your name is ARDA, then you get 2 to 5 minutes to prove yourself. Uh, yeah, you have a point there. Ashik was mentioning ARDA sees the runs and the passing lanes ahead of time, and he is only going to get better. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Arda Güler has a keen eye for the perfect pass. Not many people are really blessed with. But yeah, what else? What else did we miss? Talking points. The corner shouldn't have been a corner. Last touch was of a Celta
Oh
player.
yeah, yeah.
Super unfortunate. Maybe that basically gave them a golden ticket to come back. But yeah,
We didn't even
you
appeal.
can't. I don't think many people knew that. I think probably only the guys watching on the
Can
broadcast. Hmm.
VAR intervene in a case like that?
No, 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 no.
Yeah, so there's no point then.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I don't know what else that we are overlooking at this point. Thibaut as well, decent performance. Stepped up a few really good saves. Without him, I think the season would have been over probably against City. It is that bad. Um, Fran Garcia, okay, Chouameni up until the goals started pouring in, I thought was pretty brilliant. Some of his tackles was a delight to watch. Yeah, Modric when he came on, no impact. Yeah, some of the subs really did have zero impact, to be honest. Um,
True.
Vasquez at right back. He's trying to control the ball instead of clearing the ball for the corner goal that Celta got. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean
I
he
mean,
was sort of off balance, so I wouldn't blame him.
yeah, mm. Yeah. You could make a case for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's pretty much it. Sile, any final thoughts before the big Clasico?
Yeah, I mean we've got an entire week now between now and the Clasico.
Yeah.
Plenty of time to look back at these few games and just um, think about it. I mean, what else is there to do? Because we're out of all the other trophies. There
Yeah.
isn't much to play for, and apart from pride, obviously, like you mentioned in the Clasico, I have not lost hope on La Liga, definitely, but I also accept that it is not in our court anymore. And if we do get a win against Barca, that still doesn't do anything, right? That still brings it down to 1 point, and then they have to either draw or lose. Not even draw; they have to lose,
Yeah.
and we still have to make sure we win all of our games. So because of the incompetence that we see game in game out, not just on the results, just watching
Yeah.
the performance, it doesn't give me much hope. But definitely, if Carlo can go out with a league title to his name, um, that would be great.
I just hope we yeah show up to the party, man, because yes, yeah, getting kitted on and stepping onto the pitch is one thing, but actually trying to go toe to toe with Barcelona and really punish them for their high line and take our chances. Yeah, all we have to do is get a 3-0 lead. you know, Easier said than done, right? But a 3-0 lead, I think, would
Yeah,
completely dismantle the confidence that Barcelona has at this moment in time.
yeah,
They have a crucial Champions League away fixture in the semi-final at the San Siro against Inter, also in a few days. So they would be pretty fatigued. So we have to, really, really, really make them pay. Um, but yeah, I can only hope, man, at this point.
I would like to see
Um,
Arda start actually the Clasico, or maybe even
he's
just
gonna
get
start. He's gonna start
intermittent.
100%,
If
100%.
if
He's
Rodrigo
gonna
is
start.
not fit, then available, but Arda
Yeah.
should start, or at least get
Ca-
significant minutes if Brahim is playing.
Carlo Carlo did say Rodrigo is going to be back. The classical lineup is clear. That's what he said. So I
Okay.
just hope that doesn't mean that Rodrigo just slots back
Basically,
right
yeah.
in. Even if Rodrigo slots back in, I think Arda Güler should play a midfield role, and I think he's gonna bang. He's gonna bang.
Yeah.
But yeah, boys. Ashik was mentioning how did Vinicius do in his first season for Madrid, and now let's compare that to Mbappe's first season. Man, polar opposites. Vinicius,
Wasn't an
raw,
accomplished footballer. He hadn't won the World Cup and he came to Real
raw,
Madrid.
18, you know,
Yeah. Very
barely
different
had a few
expectations.
games for Castilla. So yeah, Mbappe has to do better. The heat is going to be always on Mbappe from guys like me. I expect a lot better. I'll be honest. Mbappe at 17 don't draw the world apart. I know Mbappe at 18 menace, Mbappe at 20 menace, all of that. But I've seen some great players play for us with a lot more character than what Mbappe has shown so far. So I expect the same. Vinicius, although the season has been iffy, if you remember last season, once he came back from injury from January up until June, you could argue that he dragged our team through so many moments of grave danger. So I need to see more of that from Mbappe. I know it isn't a one man job; it is a collective effort. It wasn't ideal conditions that he came into, but yeah, if people want Rodrigo's head and not his, he has to really deliver, man, and keep delivering. The demands, the standards, unfortunately, at our club is can be a bit too suffocating for even the best of the lot. But yeah, watch out for the Classico preview probably Thursday or Friday. I think the game is on Sunday. I'm not
Yep.
sure. Sunday,
11th.
Sunday, right? Sunday, early kickoff. So yeah, probably Thursday. I think Omar should be back. But yeah, boys, watch out for the fan cams as well. Sid and the boys are working hard right now, trying to ask people if they believe that we can retain, the Liga. It's a funny question to ask, but it would be interesting to gauge, what the feeling is like, especially after a game like that. But yeah, as always, pick up our sponsors. Links are in the description below. Pick up our audio listeners as always. Thank you for being a huge part of our journey over the last 3.5 years or so. But yeah, boys, Ashik was mentioning in Benzema's first 3 seasons against Mbappe's first season. Let's compare that. Again, was Benzema 24? I don't think so. Well, I think Benzema was 21
21.
when he first joined. And yeah, and Benzema, I'm telling you, like I wasn't a huge fan of Benzema when he first came in. I rooted for Higuain more because of how much Higuain was reliable, scoring goals. Not when it mattered the most, probably. People would question sometimes how clutch can he be, but he did score some very vital goals in, two La Liga title winning seasons in his time with us. Um, but Benzema was twice, thrice the player Mbappe is. Mbappe looks so one dimensional when he's on the ball. You think that Mbappe is going to dribble past three men. Benzema consistently used to do week in, week out, even when he was having a stinker of a season. Benzema had the feet. I don't think Mbappe would ever have. But yeah, boys. Until next time. Ala Madrid.